A.
I guess if it was print, the first kingfisher would possibly be flipped.
Yeah, possibly. There's a number of things you could do there. Yeah.
Because it flows this way, but if it was print, you'd have it looking
Yeah.
at me.
Well, and this is again why looking at a
Which you're
digital
not
set.
actually allowed to do in nature.
No.
Okay.
No. But it is, you might have chosen one going the other way, let's just say that.
Yeah.
But, this is why this layout, when you're thinking about doing digital, makes really good sense for the little things. Because when you see it, it's actually a
Of really good education ran on a little longer, so let's get moving on this. And if you're still with your cuppa, carry on. And let's get this part of the evening underway. My name's Jo Curtis, and I have the pleasure of being your MC for tonight. So welcome everyone, and we've got members here. Do we have any guests, any people who don't usually come along? Oh, welcome. Oh, and are you both from Nelson? Yeah, good to have you here. The exits are through the back, and there's loos through there if you need them. And please turn your phones off or on flight mode if you haven't already done so. So we've got a great evening tonight. First of all, we're going to have the prints talked about and read. And then we're going to have a few promotions that are coming up. And finally, thanks to everyone who set this evening up. So before we do, Diana, thanks to you for putting the program together and emailing it to us so that we all know what's happening. So if I miss something, go to your emails. Diana will have the rest that you need to know. And again, thanks to the committee for creating a full program for us. So we've had the special general meeting tonight, we've had the honours success review, and now it's time for the open print. Number 2, the critique and results. So let's get underway, and Shirley is going to be the reader. You're going to be the reader. And you're starting. All right, can I leave all this here? Yeah, sure.
Great, thank you. So this is PR2, the second print competition of the year. The judge was Margie Colestone, and she sent a bit of information about herself, which I will read. She says, "Many thanks for allowing me to judge your beautiful images, some of which I had to learn about some interesting printing techniques. Judging from prints is great, as what you see is what you get and not dependent on different screen resolutions. My past life has been in education, and presently I am a semi-retired primary school principal. I now work as an online private tutor in English and maths. I majored in English and art at university and created my love of photography starting with black and white darkroom work. However, a teaching career, motherhood and life took over, and I didn't pick up a camera again until 8 years ago. I presently have a business called Gumboots and Tiaras and mostly work with families, children, small weddings and business profile work. I open my home studio once or twice a year and really enjoy the people coming through. My passion lies with portraiture and ICM, but after a recent workshop, I find a growing passion for landscape photography. I have been taking myself off for short breaks in my camper van to places of interest this year to do some landscape work. My paid work allows me to work from the van so I can be almost anywhere while working. For the past 18 months, I've also been a photography judge, which I enjoy immensely. I'm really busy as so many clubs seem to find it hard to get judges. Judging in the winter is my favourite, as it's an enjoyable but time-consuming indoor task well suited to winter. Every year, I set a goal for myself to enhance my own skills and to learn another arm of photography. And this year, I received my licentiate honours. My task this year is to get through to the next level of judging, which I should have done already, but life and grandkids have got in the way. Have a great night. I will be in Christchurch tomorrow as I am taking my husband on the Transalpine train trip for his birthday. Last year, we went on the Rocky Mountaineer train trip through Canada and then Alaska. We love trains. So for this competition, there were 34 entries in total. Of these, there were 12 accepted, 4 high acceptance, 4 honours, and 1 best in show, so that was a 62% acceptance rate. So Margie's actually scored a wee bit differently to usual. She's given her critique, and she's actually given numbers, numerical scores for areas like creativity and
composition.
Yeah, all sorts of things like that. So if you go to your image library and you look at your image and view the critique, you'll see all those extra bits. Shirley's not going to read those tonight. She's just going to read the basic critique, but it's there if you want some information about your prints. So thank you, Shirley. Over to you.
So first score 1, Rata Bloom. I find the Rata Bloom in flower such an iconic New Zealand sight. I'm enjoying the big red pops amongst the greenery. You can see why the photographer chose to shoot with a shorter depth of field. For me, however, this has left a large area of the image to the right in blur. I wonder if the photographer may consider cropping some of the right side and some of the top to fill the image with red blooms. I feel that the added element of some birds would have given some interest, but understand that they are not always there when needed. Keep playing with this image and see where it goes. Frond. I find that, this is score 2, sorry. Yes. Frond. I find the monochromatic treatment works well, as for me it highlights the detail in the fern. I feel, however, that the white bouquet to the top and right are my initial focal point. In my view, lowering the exposure or removing them may help. For me, the fern has more drama and creates better eye contact with the fern when viewed in a portrait shape, with the end fern pointing downwards and the bouquet. The bouquet then, for me, becomes less prominent. I found this a difficult print to work with as the blue tape holding the image into the frame kept coming unstuck and allowing the print to come free. The stem coming from the bottom corner leading into the image works well for me. Air Force exercise. For me, the composition of this image works well. I find the smoke trails leading in from the bottom and right side leads me into skydivers. In my view, the image lacks focus and has a lot of noise. I suspect this has been taken from a distance and the close cropping has caused this. I feel the colours are dynamic and I find the blue canopies coordinate well with the sky. Ruskin Andrea. I find the dahlia such a rewarding flower to photograph. The dahlia is centrally placed, which works well for me, although I feel the stem would be better placed vertically up the centre to maintain the symmetry. I find most of the colour in the pink petals consistent, but find some overbright areas on the top right petals. A little less light on the right side may have prevented this. In my view, the presentation of the dark background, black frame, and white border adds to the crispness. Score 3. Oh, whoops, no. Got the wrong one. So it's jumped several. Yeah, I'll just go back. Quite a few. Here we go. Right. Score 2, Landscape High Country Hut. We have so many of these little huts all around New Zealand, and they all have their own characteristics. I find this one has its own personality with double windows to one side. For me, the balance of the image feels awkward. Perhaps it has been either cropped too tightly or taken from too close. Maybe adding more space to the top and the left would position the hut less awkwardly in the frame and give a greater sense of the surroundings. I see the photographer has chosen to use a heavy stylised effect over this image, and in my view, although it has given the image a painterly appearance, I feel it has been overdone in areas such as, now I'm just going to have to, Alan, how do I scroll down? Okay, yep. I've got it, yep. This is called user not managing well. Yes, okay, that I can't see. Right. I find this image has much more appeal when viewed from further back as the effect appears more blended. Oh, this isn't going. Oh. Mine's not going to the next one.
That's weird.
I'm not seeing what you guys are seeing. Yep. Great. Score 2, the church. I'm enjoying the overall effect of what I see as a mixed media image with its ethereal and moody atmosphere. In my view, however, there are some areas on the surface that I find distracting, and for me they lower the impact of the image. They are the soft line of the horizon to the left of the church, which is missing, the white scratches to the bottom left and tiny black dots to the left of the church. I also find the brighter blue along the bottom and the top right corner are slightly too bright, although I feel the placement of them and the texture works well. I'm enjoying the diffused yellow light to the left of the church. Ruffled red. This looks like a seagull with attitude. I'm enjoying the fluffed out feathers and the soldier-like march and head turn. Although the eye and feather detail looks to me to be in good focus, I find the bright white front of the gull has lost its feather detail due to overexposure. The photographer may be able to retrieve some of the detail by changing the contrast and highlights. I feel the subject is placed well in the frame, but for me, some more space at the top would have helped it look less crowded. Red umbrella. I am enjoying the colour palette with the bright pop of the red umbrella. However, in my view, the figure appears too dark, and I feel that lightening the exposure on the upper half of the figure and inner area of the arch would give more detail and add to the story. I find there are several dust spots and a large white spot on the top left corner that could be removed. For me, the image appears to tilt to the left and I feel it could be straightened. I find this image has a pensive, calm quality and suits the ICM technique. Teesbrook Audrey. I find this a delicate image. In my view, the flowers are in good focus and quite uniform in colour, although the absence of leaves on the left stem feels out of balance. For me, the creative element in the background has become quite overexposed and my eye is drawn there before the flowers in the foreground. I also find my eye travels to the front half leaf, which is certainly part of nature, but for me doesn't match the delicate nature of the image. The image has been well presented. Street sleepers. Sadly, this tells an all too common tale for many New Zealanders, and I feel this image has captured this man's story. In my view, the highlights in the trolley are quite bright and in good focus, and the man appears to me to be dark and out of focus. If this was not the photographer's intent, then perhaps by lowering the exposure on the trolley side and raising the exposure and focus on the subject may balance the image better. I feel that by changing the f-stop, the photographer could have increased the focus on both the trolley and the man. I find the choice of cardboard with a trolley graphic next to his trolley adds a touch of humour, and I am in awe of the subject's skill in house construction. Late summer garden. For me, the colour palette is very indicative of a summer garden, and the ICM technique used works well. In my view, the image appears more balanced when viewed with the clump of yellow flowers at the bottom and all the flowers facing upwards in a portrait crop, as I feel the landscape crop you have presented appears to have all the yellow in the top left, which for me feels out of balance. I feel an area of the bottom and the right side could be cropped where there is a lot more negative space. I do enjoy the French Impressionist style. Score 3, so this is the first of the acceptances. Bus ride to Kathmandu. I am enjoying the composition of this image, and for me the portrait crop works well and the children well balanced in the frame. In my view, this image feels over-sharpened as some details such as the lower subject's hair and the children's skin appear too crisp. For me, a softer look with less colour saturation would suit the story I'm seeing of siblings off on an adventure together. I find the grubby little fingers along the front window quite lovely. Linda's Pass Winter. For me, this image creates a sense of calm with the rolling curves of the hills and the soft glow of the warmth coming over the top hill to the right. I find the dip between the front hills creates a leading line into the rest of the image where the scale of the transformer gives us perspective as to the vastness. For me, some contrast could be added to the mid-tones on the back hills and a little more warmth added onto the area where the sun is hitting the top hill. I find this is a great reminder of how beautiful New Zealand is. Frosted leaves. I'm enjoying the contrast between the cool frost tones against the warm colours of the leaves. I find my eye goes straight to the centre white leaf, then moves around the image. I feel the image has great focus and detail on the edges of the stalks and leaves. However, for me, the top corner areas appear darker, and I feel that a bit more exposure would allow the image to have a more uniform look. I am enjoying the soft colour palette and the various tones of warmth. Northern Lights over Straw Hat Mountain. I find this an interesting image and thought it was a cruise ship when I unpacked it without my glasses on. I am drawn to the mountain peak first and feel although it is placed on the thirds line, in my view the left side feels too crowded. Perhaps the photographer may consider cropping off some of the left busy area, as I feel the area to the right of the mountain is more interesting. I feel that if taken from further back to include more on the sides, it would give more perspective and balance. For me, the aurora is quite beautiful, and I wondered if the photographer had thought about taking this as a long exposure to elongate the wispy clouds. I find the light coming in from the right works well. Morning mist. Wow, look at those eyelashes. I feel the image is aptly titled as I see mist and what appears to be rain as well. In my view, the animals are placed well in the frame and grounded on the bottom third. But for me, it would have been more interesting image if we were able to see more of the animals' faces. I find some of the animals quite dark and feel they could be given a bit more exposure to show detail. I find the clouds and mist work well, and parts of the mountain I can see create interest. The muted colour palette works well, and the butt hearts add interest. Church of the Holy Innocents. For me, this appears moody and dramatic, and I feel the low cloud has intensified that. I am enjoying the shorter depth of field, which allows distance between the rear trees in the church, and I think the darker trees to the left and right frame the image well. In my view, the chapel is well placed in the image, but I feel lowering the whites may blend the church into the background, as I find whites around the windows bright against the moody shades of grey in the stonework in the background. In my view, the Holy Innocents have a wonderful place to worship. New Zealand harebells. I find this image well balanced, and I am enjoying the way my eye wants to move from one bloom to the next and back again. I find the contrast of textures throughout the image successful and enjoy the complementary colours. The lighting from darker at the base to lighter at the top works well for me, except for the overly lit front top petal, which in my view could be darkened slightly to avoid an overblown look. In my view, white marks on the background below the top bloom and light area to the right side of the background is distracting, and I feel they could be removed. I'm enjoying the softness of the image and the muted shades. River. I am enjoying the mood and the raw nature of this image. I find I want to look deep into the centre of it, as there appears to be a subtle leading line taking me to the water. I feel the complex tangle of branches around the top and the sides have for me created a rustic frame. However, I find some of the branches lack enough detail and tone. I found the process the photographer has used to create this image very interesting. Patchwork. I see an aerial view of man versus nature where the geometry of the cultivated land and its consequential colours contrast with the curved river and more relaxed colours on the other side of the road. I find the car on the road gives perspective as to the height this has been photographed from. For me, the lack of any related farming activity and the lack of tonal contrast in the image takes some of the interest away. I do find the title Patchwork a good choice. Kereru. I feel the kereru has really gotten in a huff and hence compressed its neck into its body. In my view, waiting a bit longer until it changed position would improve the shape of the bird, although I realise the photographer may have preferred this stance. I find the eye and feathers are in sharp focus, and the light is highlighting the feathers well. For me, the short depth of field has given good distance between the bird and the softened background, but I feel a bit more space to the right and top of the bird would give the image more balance. I'm always intrigued by the way birds can see you from a side-on view such as this. From Dunche, man from Dunche. I see a tired face, weathered with age and hardship. I'm enjoying the way the photographer has captured the lines, pores and creases in his face. For me, the image appears oversaturated and too tightly cropped. I feel he needs more space to the sides and top. I find the light to the right side of him works well, but the background appears overly bright and I find it distracting. For me, his stare is intense and holds a good connection with the viewer. Siblings. I find the subtle neutral colours and the vertical grass that fills the whole frame creates a soft, gentle mood which relates well with the siblings looking so relaxed. The central placement of the subjects works well for me, although perhaps if the image were taken from more to the left we would see more of the second subject's face. I appreciate, however, when in situations such as this is not always possible. I feel the lens flare in the top right corner doesn't add to the image and could be removed. For me, the slight vignette has darkened the animals and consequently lost some of their detail. I feel lightening this along the front slightly would raise the exposure of the subjects. I'm enjoying the monochromatic layers of light through the image. Score 4, high acceptance. I'm not sure if that's nape or nappy, right. I'm enjoying the carbon transfer effect on this image, and in certain lights it feels to me as if it's 3D. I find the image has good detail and I'm enjoying the contrast of textures in the bark and the stones. I find the tree branch along the top frames the image well, but in my view the image could be extended into a more panoramic shape with more detail on the left side to replicate the horizontal branch, the clouds and foreground rocks. For me, the soft sepia palette works well. One Tree Hill. I'm enjoying the minimalist dramatic feel of this image. The tree for me is a great starting point to lead me into the layers of trees and clouds beyond. I am seeing an unusual white line around the top of the tree which I feel could be blended better into the grey cloud colour behind it using contrast and shadow tools. I find the middle layer of trees slightly dark and feel lifting and brightening the exposure slightly there would enhance the layered effect. In my view, the portrait crop helps to add drama to the image. Raindrops on pink rose. I find myself humming Raindrops on Roses. In my view, the colour palette and the central location of the rose's central point works well, although I wondered if the photographer had tried a square crop to include more detail at the bottom and the right, which would give the right side petal more space. I'm enjoying the transition from pink to peach to yellow, and I feel the tonal contrast makes this interesting. The soft detail and colour to the right side feels a little too soft for me, and I feel that changing the f-stop could have helped sharpen the focus, although I appreciate this is a personal choice for the photographer. I find the raindrops delicate and enhance this image well. Beauty in a bubble. Oops, just need to get to the top. Here we go. Who could possibly know that bubbles have such extraordinary detail? For me, it looks like a hydrangea flower head inside it. I find the detail on the edge of the patterns inside takes my eyes around the circle and back, and the short depth of field has created a replica blurred pattern at the back which contrasts well. I feel the white areas have kept their detail, but for me the larger creamy white area to the bottom right could have had some cloned detail onto it to reduce the area of brightness. In my view, the water area at the bottom and up the right side works well, but the water on the bottom left of the bubble seems to stop, which has caused the bubble to lose its roundness. Perhaps the photographer could have removed that small area of water. The 3 dots reflection on the left side for me are distracting and could be removed as well. I find the central location of the bubble works compositionally, and in my view the landscape crop complements the rounded centrally placed bubble. Score 5, honours, up and out. I'm enjoying the creativity in this image, and the title feels apt as the bubbles appear to whoosh out and upwards. I find the details in this image appear planned and well executed, and I feel the rainbow colours work well. For me, the black dot on the bottom of the second bubble to the bottom right could be removed, but in my view, the symmetry overall is very effective. Shadin Kung Fu. I'm enjoying the dynamic action in this image, and for me, the black and white treatment enhances that by removing the colour distraction. I find the figures in sharp focus, and the geometry of their poses relates to the geometry in their surroundings, such as the horizontal leg of the left gentleman against the doorway and the curve of the right gentleman with the lantern above. I feel the light, dark and mid-tones have been processed well and have allowed the subjects to be the heroes here. I enjoy looking through the lower entrance, which appears well placed. Korearia stretch. A stretch and a bit of cha-cha-cha going on here, I think. I'm enjoying the dynamic pose of the bird and the soft natural colour palette of the background. For me, the crop is a bit tight, and some space to the right and the top would put the bird on the left vertical third, but I appreciate the photographer may prefer this crop. I find the sharp focus and crisp detail quite captivating and appreciate how patient bird and wildlife photographers are. Orange, the new black. I'm enjoying the clever composition of vertical and horizontal lines, blocks of colour and use of the thirds lines. I find the contrast between these and the soft puffy clouds works well. For me, the image is minimalistic in style, but with some subtle details such as the moving flags, the pipe, and the shadow on the orange wall adding some energy. I find the crispness of composition and the strong colour palette Very pleasing. Score 6, Best in Show. Aquilegia. I'm enjoying the soft pastel colours and the sharp focus in this image. My eyes initially went to the lilac petals, but I found I wanted to explore all the areas where tiny hairs and contrasting textures were evident. I find the slightly crazed background and the slight blur on the leaves a good contrast. This image for me is a wonderful collaboration between nature and photographer. And that's it.
Falling asleep. Diana, would you like to come up if you can? Where would you like to stand? Yeah, okay. So, okay, this side, do you think, or this side? This side? Yeah, whichever suits you, yeah. Okay, we'll start with the accepted. First one, Alistair Phillips, but I think he's away, isn't he? Yep, I'm afraid he's away. Yep, yes. Thank you. A quick round of applause for Alistair. Linda's Past Winter, Diana. Oh, shake hands with Why not? Then we go on to Frosted Leaves, that's Jamberg. Then we have Northern Lights over Straw Hat Mountain and Yuan. Morning Mist, Narrowly Keating. Not here? Okay. Church of the Holy Innocents is Janine Money. And we've got New Zealand Harebells, Shirley Wilson. Just wait for the image to pop up. There we go. Is that L2 River? L2 River. Platinum on Silver Leaf, Stuart Cook. Patchwork View, Diana Andrews. Leaning out of a plane, yes. Is it Kareru, Dawn Kirk? Man from Dunshea, Alistair Phillips. Siblings in Wolves. Just wait for the picture. And was it Napa Napa? Nappy, sorry, Stuart Cook. One Tree Hill, Janine Money. Raindrops on Pink Rose, Jan Bogue. Beauty in a Bubble, Jane Barnes. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, hang on, stay where you are. Up and Out, Jane Barnes. Shaolin Kung Fu, An Yuan. I can't pronounce it. Carrera. Oh, stretch. Anyway, sorry. I'm a bit of a heathen as far as the birds go. I stand corrected. Oh, and then that's me. Thank you. And that's me. Thank you. Sorry, I'm sweating. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh, we're going to talk about them. Yes. Have we got time? Because it's running. Yeah, okay. Well, you saw that as part of my set. And I actually really like that, so I thought I'd put it in, as I already had a print of it. It's actually really tiny. Little tiny Aquilegia. Yep. And I did it on a white background and added all the rest. A little bit of textured paper in the background and a bit of colour in the background. So that's because that's what I like doing, fiddling. And the other one, the orange one, that's Mitre 10. I've actually renamed that. I've called it something else now, like Mighty Orange, because it's actually Mitre 10 in the city, the new big mega one, while it was being built. So it's not actually in any one area. It's just a bit of things that I've put together. Separate wall, separate flags, separate post, separate black one, and then some lights are stuck in, and clouds from something else as well. So, so it's sorry? No, you won't. No. I saw it in bits and put it together. So, sorry. Yeah, well, I don't know about intelligence, but yeah, anyway, it appealed to me. So once the light hits the orange, it was just like, wow, I have to take a picture of that. And then it just either develops into something or not. So anyway, that's me. So enough of that. Who have we got? Dawn. Can you tell us about your birds? Sorry, I can't say.
So I had another one of these in another competition, and I watched this bird for ages and took lots of photos, which I was really privileged. And the previous one I put in a competition, he was, or she I believe, was stretching the other leg, and the judge said, oh, I wish we could see the other leg, so I put this one in.
Jane, yes.
Well, this one is 5 lens balls sitting on a mirror with one of my light tubes being dragged backwards and forwards above them in a circular motion to get the rays looking. And then I turned it upside down.
So did you size the bubbles individually?
They're not bubbles, they're lens balls.
Lens balls?
Yes, I've got several different sizes.
Right, okay. Fascinating.
Oh, and for people who are using lens balls on mirrors, a very good way to hold them steady is to get a piece of acetate, cut out a whole size circle, a reasonably large circle, and cut a refill-sized hole in the middle of that, and you can't see it, and it sits there quite nicely.
And sit the ball in it.
And that doesn't roll away then.
Thank you. Yours is the next one, I think.
Yeah, well, I want to know how you did this.
This is it is frozen. It's actually on the top of my car. There is no water there at all, which I thought was hilarious. Yes, couldn't take the water away because it's the roof of my car. But I blew the bubble onto the roof of the car in one of the frosts we had last year, and I had a light off to the side, which was changing colours. So I've got this in numerous colours, but of course the crystals grow quite quickly, so they're all at different stages. So, yeah. And yes, I agree with her, it does look like a hydrangea. Oh yeah. Yeah. How big is it? About that big. It's I make them about probably 5 to 7 centimetres big. Ish.
Freeze them in the freezer.
No, it's on the roof of my car.
In a frost.
In a frost. Yeah, it was -3, I think. So I wake up in the morning and have a look out and think it's frosty, so I throw a jacket on over my over my pajamas, over my dressing gown, put my snow boots on and go and blow bubbles. No, I don't do that till afterwards, till the sun comes up.
Lovely, thanks, Jane. We have any other honours? That was it. High acceptances. Does anybody else like to talk about their images, or I'll hand you back to Jo now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, what a feast we've had there with visuals as well as comments. And it's always good, this last little bit, to have comments from the authors, honours and up. So thank you for doing that, and congratulations again, Diane, for getting Best in Show with that. It's lovely that we've seen it a few times this evening. Promotions. C-grade print and C-grade PI, or the digital, is tonight is the night. If you've still got your print with you, can you please bring it down into this blue box before you go home? And you still have a few moments to put a digital in on the computer when you get home, if you haven't done it already. But as with all these things, don't leave them till the last moment, because you feel rushed. It's nice to have a nice flow and be relaxed when you're working with artwork. So the MDC, the monthly digital challenge this month, the word is shapes, and that's due by the 31st of May. On the 11th of June is the next PI, or digital image, and it's a PJ, or a photojournalism number. So if you want to know anything about that, ask one of the more senior members, or somebody you know who enjoys working with photojournalism, because that's due on the June the 11th. So we've got a couple of people who want to speak now about workshops coming up. Shirley, are you ready to come and take the mic for a minute? The team had a lovely fungi foray recently, a workshop, and now there's another one coming up.
Yes, so I went on my first, have I got that? Yes. I went on my first fungi forage last weekend, and it's great fun because you get to know people in the club you haven't known and have lots of fun and eat out, and yeah, it's good. And the reason I'm saying that is because we've got the Laurie Thomas Winter School coming up in 25-27 July, and we've still got a few places left, just a few. We've had a lot of interest, and we'd really love some new faces to come along, some people who haven't been in the club, you know, for that long, come and get to know some of the people who've been there much longer than me. I'm a bit of a newbie. That would be great. And thank you for all those who have registered. That's been really great. And nearly all of you have paid, which is even better. So we look forward to the last couple of banknotes rolling in for those. But yeah, really think about it. And if you want to ask any questions about the winter school, just come and see me, Shirley Wilson, or ask any of the other members who have been coming to them in the past. Lots of fun.
Thank you. Yes, I can certainly vouch for that. It is wonderful, and there's a lot of learning that takes place. And fabulous also that CPS subsidises that weekend for us. So we now have the New Zealand landscape we're going to talk about, and Dennis and Ian are going to have a couple of minutes on this. Dennis, are you still here? Just? What about Ian? Is he still here? Oh, yeah. All right. So the PSNZ Interclubs, this is something that Dennis and Ian are going to talk about. We have got the New Zealand Landscape competition and salon coming up on the 8th of September. So, Dennis, you ready?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just.
Shall we bring Ian up first? Well, you have a.
I think it might be better if I just introduce it.
All right.
And give us a challenge.
Okay, over here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You want me to sit over there?
No, just stand over.
Oh, right, okay, so I was just going to say, right. Okay, it's very good that we really mentioned about the Laura Thomas Winter School, which is connected to the New Zealand Landscape Salon, which was relaunched last year from, used to be called Laura Thomas Landscape Salon, of course. I'm sorry, there's going to be probably a wabi-sabi short talk because I haven't had time to put it all together. So it'll be full of, oh gosh, I forgot this and, you know, that kind of thing. Never to be repeated, unique. And so I usually start off with my analog tablet. So just remind myself what I've got to mention. Great advantage there. Anyway, briefly, all right, that's Mr. Laurie Thomas there. And the next JPEG, please, thank you. And this is the Laura Thomas Trophy, which is offered each year. And well worth it, honestly. I can't do it. I mean, not good enough. Oh, sorry, thank you. So the first thing I want to talk about is change is the, what is it? Change is the only constant in life. And everything changes. We change cameras for whatever reason, not because the old one is kaput, but just, you know, for whatever reason. And so we've gone through a lot of change in Laura Thomas competition the last 2 or 3 years, couple of years. I got involved in the middle of 2023, and it was a lot of work. It's a bit of a baptism in fire, really. A lot to do. And the changes that I was able to make that year is a new certificate where the image, the awarded image, is part of your certificate. But then there was a lot of change in 2024, which include, instead of a free printed catalog, we have a really wonderful produced book. We have a free digital catalog, and there's also a relaunch of the to rename the competition to be New Zealand Landscape Salon instead of Laurie Thomas. But behind the scenes, there are other changes as well, because one of the things that I noticed and aware is that it is a lot of work for 1 or 2 people to run the salon. So, and what we should always do when we do something in the club, I think, is to be aware of continuity and the backups. And one way to do that is to turn a big mountain into a small mountain, and a mountain into smaller hills, and smaller hills into molehills, and then the task can be shared. Because it's my firm belief that continuity and teamwork lie behind everything we do. Because if you make the job a little bit easier, you find it easier to find people who say, hey, look, just do this little bit here. So I'm actually, and to the continuity and the backup, what's happening behind the scene is that I starting to look at things like roles that different people play to make it possible. You can put it down. Sorry, it must be quite tight. It's okay. Thank you. And so we started off with the group, and the first one would be media and comms, media and communications. And I really want to thank a number of people stepping up to say, yeah, that's fine, I'll have a go. Adrian here. Thank you, Adrian. And Nicola, Neroli, who's not here, and Pip. So they handle that. At the other end, we have got Anna, Mike, and Joe here doing the printed book, which again is fabulous. And then we have people stepping up. Joe was also the MC because the president cannot be here. I've got the timetable wrong. You know, I've got the time he's happened to be away. But the great thing must go to Mike, because without him, I think 2024 would not have happened, because I had a health problem towards the end of 2023. And I think it's part of responsibility to let people know, to say, hey, look, I have a problem. Who can help? And somebody stepped up, and that's Mike. No question asked, immediately. He got the website sorted out. But very importantly, we implemented change, which is using PayPal for payment, which I think is very important to make the treasurer's job easier, more secure, because we want to make our team members' job easier. So that's a great motivator. But unfortunately, from that, because of the limitation that's faced on the platform that we use, we have to ask people to pay first, and it's kind of like an extra little bit on top of. VP is fantastic for our club activities, but when you try to use a really fully featured system for something which essentially is very, very simple, just collecting data, that's all. And I received a number of, quote, feedbacks through very different channels, 2 people from here, and some people say, oh, how does this work? You know, personal calls. So one of the things that I try to do with the Laura Thomas for the last 2 years is to instigate change, is to coordinate change, is to, you know, essentially keep my ear in the ground to get the feedback. And the motivation for the change are 4 parts. One is to adhere to the Constitution, which you've had opportunity to promote the club, to, you know, to open up to wider audience, to have salons, etc. And also, the purpose 3.0 is not to make money, but we do. And that surplus goes to the winter school, which I think is well worth it. And the other consideration is what I call JET, J-E-T. J for charge, E for entrance, and T for team. So you try to streamline and rationalize system for the benefit of the judge, which 2023, the judge just want to have the original file. They will take care of it with their own special spreadsheet. That's fine. We turn things around, cope for that. Last year, the judge says, well, yes, but can we please have sort of tidying for Lightroom? So the judge requirement is different. We cope with that, but you do things slightly differently. And we also did something for our team members, the treasurer, and a few things in the background. But we not really doing enough for the punters, for the entrance, which the word often come up as clunky with the interface. And I've been working on that, and the choice of job form is not because I'm married to it or have any financial interest or personal interest in that, only because that was the one that's been used by PSNZ and a number of other people, in addition to Google Form. And while waiting for VP, which stands for Visual Pursuit, to get back to us about possibly improving some of the interface, that was going back to September last year, when I haven't heard back for 6 months, I thought, well, we really got to get on with this. So I tried out Jotform, and it seems to fulfill some of the requirement. One is, does it fulfill our needs? Yes, it does. Is it the best stuff around? Probably not, but it doesn't matter. You know, if Lightroom would do, why use Photoshop? That kind of argument. And also, does it work simply for the punters? And I think it does. And you will find that out when you're doing the testing later on. And the third one is value for money, because at the moment, we don't use the VP in separate instance for anything else, but just for about a month. And at the same sort of cost with Jotform, we can make use of Jotform for the rest of the year if we want to, for other purposes. So as far as the testing, which Anne will announce, it's just that everything, technology, unfortunately, gets in the way, making things really complicated. And in terms of the software, it have layers and layers and layers of dependencies. And if I put it very simply, the hardware we use, including the camera, etc., there's a layer of, for want of a better word, operating system that interface with those hardware. And they provide the services to the next level up, like the operating system, which could be platform like Windows, Android, you know, Apple, Linux, etc., etc. Then you get these application systems, like your spreadsheet, like Jotform, that make use of the services provided by the underneath layers. And then it comes down to people like ourselves, which will create a spreadsheet, create a form, etc. And they will depend on those application systems. So that's a really simple way of looking. There's always exceptions. And what's actually important is that when we're going to do the testing, because it is another change, and is that we don't need to test out the hardware interface or whether or not this stuff is going to crash on a really obscure operating system. I can crash that job form within 2 minutes if I wanted to, okay, just by being really awkward, picking some platform that nobody else uses, and it won't have the hardware support to support job form because that uses PayPal and uses the email system. But what's really important is that for the common platform that the photographers will use, like Windows and perhaps Mac, it supports the browsers. And we need to have JotForm running correctly on the browsers that's available on the Windows and the Mac system. So that will be the nature of our test, really. And also usability. One really important thing, which I'm not very good at, is English. Adequate at a lot of places, but so have a look to see how I explain. When you look at the form, say, hey, look, Dennis, look, you made a spelling mistake. Hey, look, this is really awkward. You know, try to phrase it differently, okay, to make it more understandable. Please do. I'm not hurt. It's always good to improve. So, and I'll pass this over to Anne, and I think I can get the thing switched on probably by Friday, as long as JotForm would take my money to go up to plan. There will be donations, I'm afraid. As we say, 50 cents for entry and 5 cents per image, but you don't have to click on payment, just go through the front end. There is no complete charges bio, and for that, I'd like to welcome Irene. And Irene will be the convening judge for this year, and welcome to John, thank you. And this year's will be tough because the other two judges, one is the NZIPP president, the other one used to be the PSNZ president. So get yourself sharpened up. Take lots of wonderful pictures at the winter school, because this year, as you know, we've postponed or moved back the competition because there's a lot of overlap usually in around about June time. So we shift all of that, and we'll be open up about the 16th, I think, of August, and the award night is going to be the 29th of October. So that gives us opportunity to produce a wonderful result from the winter school. So please do. Never mind. I think I'll cover it. Thank you. Anne?
Thanks, Dennis. I don't really have anything to say to that. That other than I'm going to email you as soon as Dennis has got the JotForm up and running with a link to go to it. What will happen is you, instead of going to the winter school website, you'll go straight to the JotForm. We just want you to work your way around the JotForm, as he said, see if you can make sense of it and put some images in, so we've got a database to make sure we can download it and send it to Irene and do whatever we need to do. So please, as quick as you can, when you get this link, which will be on Friday or Saturday, just stick 5 random images in. They're not going, anything you like, they're not going anywhere. It has got a size test on it, so if you put a minute one or a huge one, it'll tell you off. So you can try that if you want to. But if you just put a standard CPS size image, any one you like, from anywhere you like, we won't do anything with it. We just want to try it and then get a database.
Right, with everything that I've done so far with Laura Thomas School from the middle of 2023 until now, I tried to have primary, secondary support, redundancies with teams, etc. And I think I more or less achieved that. That is the role which I consider myself as just a coordinator and facilitator, that to try to make the system last as a continuity issue. However, whatever happens, there's always a technical element to this. And I've got this tiny little bit in the middle, which I've been doing without backups. And which I think eventually it would be good to have someone who can back me up on that one. And what it is, I need someone with a bit of IT skill, didn't have to do it this year, who preferably knows Excel, because I try to keep the technical solution as simple as possible, even though I could do it a complicated way, but it's not fair for people who doesn't know the tools. So I pick the common tools, Excel, and also know what Windows command is, may be able to have a shell, able to write a shell script, pretty easy. And that's about it, really. Okay, thank you. So please tap me on the shoulder afterwards, all right? Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Ian. I know a lot of us look forward to the landscape, the New Zealand Landscape Salon every year. It's one of the it's one of the salons that people can submit images into. So we look forward to working with those as they come through, and this test will be a good one to streamline the process. So just one more thing that I'd like to talk about tonight is this wonderful exhibition that's coming up. I've got 5 brochures, so the people who are going to take a carload of people can take one. So you've got the address. But this is coming up shortly, the end of May, 29th of May through to the July the 2nd. And this is an exhibition that would be great for supporting and viewing. These are CPS members involved in this, and you know, your Tuesday walk group could go out there and have a look at that one of the Tuesdays and have a coffee at one of the cafes perhaps, or you know, take a carload out and have an afternoon tea out at Kaiapoi. So it's a bit of a jaunt out there, and it will be well worth it because we've got people there from our club at the Civic Centre, May 29 through to July the 2nd, supplying beautiful viewing. So the people involved are members of CPS, Caroline Alcock, Paul Williams, James Gibson, Lan Zhang, Paul Serrett, Stuart Kluke, and Catherine Affield. So if you know any of those people with the fine work that they do, you'll be interested in seeing their artwork. So please do come and get one of these before you go. Remember, if you've got images that need to go in that blue box, bring them up before you leave. And I think with that, we'll probably wind the evening up with a thanks to Alan and Andrew and Dennis setting the place up tonight, Gordon for doing the sound, yep, and thanks Diana for taking over Heidi's place tonight and looking after the prints. So the prints that are up on the wall, are they to be taken home tonight if the people are here? Yes, so please do take yours and be careful with the ones at the top. If you're not tall enough, ask a taller person to help them down. Okay, so anything else? Are we good to wind it up tonight? Yep, okay, good night everyone and drive carefully home.